Hello, today we're looking at something in a rather big box. This is the AllPowers R600 portable power station. And it's called a power station because calling it simply a power bank wouldn't be quite the right thing. It's pretty big and it's pretty heavy. What essentially this is a 299 watt hour of life-based batteries which will supply two AC power supplies. It's got a 12 volt car output and it's got some USB outputs as well. So the idea being, if you're going away on camping, perhaps caravanning, you've got one of the van lifey type person, but perhaps your solar panels, it's winter, it's not working so well. If you need backup power, if you need to plug stuff in to use things, if you need to recharge stuff, this is the sort of thing you have. Let's take it out of the box and see what we get first off. Okay, well the whole unit's very nicely packed in some moulded foam, so it's not going to get clonked about, which is good because these are lithium based batteries after all. So in it we obviously get the power station itself, quite a heavy beast, although manageable for carrying around and sticking in, you know, back of a car if you're off camping or your van or what have you. We'll go through all the ins and outs of this, and there's some bits here as well, so we'll do that in a sec. You get this envelope telling you to claim your warranty, and inside of here you've got a warranty card, you've got some instructions, you've also got this little bag of essentially your charge cables. You've got two charge cables in here. The mains cable, which this is a UK plug obviously, and this is how we charge it up. Or if you've got a solar panel, it's got some solar connectors. And going into the side of the power station, XT60. Here's me thinking XT60s are just used in hobbies like quads and stuff, but no, here on this power station. And in addition to that, there's actually an app, so you can connect to the power station via Bluetooth and manage it and stuff like that. So that's quite interesting. But I thought what we'd do, because I can't hold it up and describe it, is let's put it on the floor, plug it in, and have a look at it and see what we can do. So I've just plugged this guy in to charge it, and one thing I thought I'd do is actually connect the phone to it to see. And one thing it does is it has Bluetooth turned off by default. To turn it on, you have to hold in the USB selector for 3 seconds, and then it turns on. And then we get this display, and you can see on charge how much power is going in, how much power is going out. We can actually turn the socket on and off. Right now it's off, we've got nothing plugged in, so we can turn it back on again. It's got an LED light on it, which is horrendously bright. If I can touch the right part of my screen, it's really bright. I turned it on the first time, I was like, my eyes. And I'm just going to let that go up all the way, and then we'll look at the features, because right now I'm charging my lights if it looks a bit dark in here. But there's your info on the screen there as well, and this is where the charge cables go in here. Right then, so here's the physical unit. As you see, we've got a little note saying we've got output on the top. This is for wireless charging at 15 watts. I don't know what that is in amps, unfortunately. On the screen here, let's take the screen protector off because we don't need that. And we can turn this on. The display's pretty bright. I've got some lights going on here, so it's dimming it a little bit. But basically it gives the what's input, what's output, the amount of time it's got left running at that, and this is 3 days here, although there's no power going at the moment, and it's at 99%. I left it charging. It didn't seem to get to 100. I don't know if there's an extra figure there to say 100, but there you go. It says it's 99. We've got here a 12 volt 10 amp car charge. The regular 12 volt car inputs will go there. On the website I did see earlier models, I presume, I had two 12 volt regular sockets that you'd see in caravans as well, but that seems to have disappeared now. On the AC output here we've got two 3-pin plugs. This is obviously for the UK spec. There are other specs available, and we can turn those on and off by just pressing the button quickly, and that will then come on. Ditto here for USBs. You've got two USB-Cs, it says 100 watts, and two USB-As, which says 18 watts. You've got the light there, as I mentioned before, it's very bright. And if we look around the side here, it's quite nicely labelled. We've got AC charge, AC overload protector, and solar/car input. So we've got our 3-pin plug, the XT60 for solar, and we have to press that to reset the circuit breaker if we have an overload. So, trying to take you through the various things. Well, first off, we should have this. Do we have to turn it on in some way? And I can't figure out if it needs to be on USB. On mains. Oh, so it's charging there. Which one stopped it charging? Ah, that's now not charging. So it seems to be that you have to press the USB side on to get charging there. That's now come on saying it's charging, but yeah, it didn't want to for a while there. So it does need something on. That's not actually documented at all, but never mind. Anyway, that's that bit. Now, I did already find a bit of an oddity, and just to prop this up a bit so you can see the screen bit, I'm going to pop that there. That's a bit better. Ignore the Insta360 case. I've got my little B6 Neo charger here because I thought, oh, let's plug that in USB-C and we'll get loads of power for it. But if I plug it in, what it says is 60 watts, 20 volts at 3 amps. This has confused me a little bit because this is the manual for the power station. And for USB-C, it says we can have 5, 9 or 15 volts at 3 amps, 20 volts at 5 amps, 200 watts max. But for some reason my 20 volts we're getting at 3 amps and only at 60 watts. Why hasn't it gone to 100 watts? Obviously there's something in the negotiation that stops it doing anything, but that seems weird to me. I'll have to follow this up and see if I can find anything out, but yeah, that's a bit of a shame. I thought I'd be able to charge this with 100 watts. Obviously, as a very basic idea, you can plug in a bunch of USB things. So, you know, I could plug in, for example, my phone. If my phone wasn't charging wirelessly, then plug it in there and it would come on quite happily. I've got things like battery chargers that I could plug in there. And that goes on. And, you know, as said, I could plug in my USB PD charger there, and we can see at this point we're getting 6 watts output, and it's saying, oh, I can do about a day doing 6 watts. So why don't we up the ante a bit and start plugging in more stuff? So as far as power goes, 600 watts your limit. 600 watts, most household things are fine, apart from the ones that are really high energy stuff. And you'd be surprised with what these are. My kettle downstairs is 3000 watts. Microwaves are very, very high wattage. But most other things, like even TVs and computers, are quite low in comparison, depending on the type of computer you've got, of course. Now, it struck me that one thing you'd probably want to do if you're out camping and you had a laptop is charge your laptop. So if we plug this guy in here, and this is for a little MacBook Air. At this point the thing's gone into sort of a little low power mode. Helpfully it looks like that's already charged, and so we're still only getting 6 watts of output. But what we could do is plug in a more serious charger. If you get this guy plugged in and plug in a battery, this poor multi-star 5.2 amps only ever seems to get charged up and down when I'm basically saying, look, this charger can do a charge, but I want to see what happens to the watts when we do this. So we've just started up the charger. You can see it's going up 3.4, 5.2 amps. That's saying it's doing 81 watts of power doing that. And if we look at that, that kind of ties up because we're about 6 watts. And we're doing another 80 something watts, and that's bringing it up to about 90 watts. And that says, at that sort of output, it can do, oh, it just dropped off to 6 watts again somehow. It's still charging, 90 watts, there you go. Saying 2 hours, which doesn't sound like much, does it? I'll have to test that. So I want to charge this battery completely. Okay, so we now have this one going as well, and that's not going to be able to do as many amps because it's only getting 60 watts in, but it's doing another 3.1 amps, and that has got the power output up to 140 something watts, and now it says just 1 hour. Well, I'm interested to test that, so I'm going to let this run to see what happens. We've lost 1% already, so let's see how long we can run 2 charges for, because in honesty I did expect more than 2 5 amp hour batteries. But let's see. I'm just going to let these charge. That will take about half an hour. If that's at like 50%, I think that will tell us the output. I'll tell you what though, while that's going, I'll explain something that's really interesting about these things. And you're probably thinking, when I showed you the app, it's like, well, what's the point of that? We don't leave batteries on their own when they're charging. This is a little bit different. I told you before these were LIFE or LIFE batteries, but the more accurate term is LIFE PO4, and that means it's lithium iron phosphate battery as opposed to lithium polymer, which is what these are. There is some good things about this. Although they're not as energy dense as lithium polymer, they do have a pretty awesome cycle ability. I'm looking at this sort of official LIFE PO4 website, which, you know, is going to put them in a good light, obviously. We are talking 3,000 to 5,000 cycles or more, and they're extremely safe. They're the best battery chemistry of all lithium, so better than lithium polymer, better than lithium ion, to the point it says if you punctured a battery, it wouldn't catch on fire. It shouldn't take you long to see videos of other lithium batteries being punctured, especially lithium polymer. They go up very nasty. We've all seen issues on the news, although sensationalist as it is, with lithium ion batteries catching fire in certain phones and stuff. These apparently, lithium iron phosphate, are the safest battery chemistry you can get. So that's a good thing, and that's why this is something you can have in your van, in your car, so you can always sort of take it out with you and not have to worry about it. It says you can also bring it down to a very low level without damaging the battery chemistry, as long as you don't leave it there forever and bring it back. I think the only issue with it is obviously overcharging, but obviously this is a very managed device, so it won't allow you to overcharge. It's all sort of managed and stuff like that. Anyway, I'm going to let these 2 batteries charge, because I really want to see if it does just last an hour if we charge 2 batteries. Taken 5% off it already. Very interesting. We can see what happens. Okay, we've got 1 battery done, the other battery nearly done, and you can see we're indeed at 55%. So yeah, this has almost used up half the power. Why is that? Well, it's because this is what 299 watt hours converts to. Basically, they're saying 299 watt hours in this battery is equivalent to 25.6 volts at 11.68 amp hours. Now, I was trying to figure out where that converts to. It's above like a 6S LiPo, so imagine, like, you know, almost a 12 amp hour 6S LiPo. It'd be a big old thing. And these LIFE PO4 cells seem to charge up to 3.6 volts per cell, which is equivalent to about a 7S. So if you're thinking about how big that battery is, then you can tell if you've got 2 5 amp hour 4S's, then you're going to get, you know, about 4 charges out of one of those guys. Or if you've got a great big 6S, that's literally the whole thing. So in terms of taking this away for a weekend and being able to charge big batteries, this is going to let you down slightly. And you're probably thinking, well, I might as well just bring a big couple of massive batteries and charge all my batteries of that, which is right. Where this has the advantage for your sort of general camping thing is it obviously has the inverters to run the 3-pin plugs, as well as all the USB stuff and a light and, you know, wireless charging and that sort of stuff. So although I was kind of thinking more towards like, oh, you're going away for the weekend, you want to charge some batteries and camp and stuff, and you want something to do it all, if you're going to go heavy on the charging, then this will run out of power. And you can pretty much calculate it when you talk about the amount of amp hours you've got at effectively 6S. You can convert around and figure out how many batteries that would actually do. If you're flying a bunch of 4S like 1.3 amps, then you're pretty much okay. If you're flying big 6S like 1200 to 2000 amp hour batteries, then you're not going to get that many charges from this guy. On the plus side, doing stuff like recharging a laptop or even like running a TV and stuff is going to take up a lot less power than trying to charge up a battery. So for your general stuff, good. For charging loads of great big batteries, not so good, because it'll run out too quickly. Of course, this is the smallest one they do. There are much bigger ones that go up to sort of 1000 amp hours and beyond. So this is kind of your sort of very portable, I would call a camping thing, rather than something bigger that you could do an awful lot with and go and off-grid living and that sort of stuff. Of course, you could always buy a solar panel and hook that up behind, but you do need the weather for it. I did ask AllPowers about how good solar was in the UK from their experience, and they sort of said winter is a no-go, but as long as you've got some sun in the other seasons, you'll get something. Of course, to get the full amount, you need direct sunlight straight on the solar to charge up. And we don't often have that. We have something, so you'll get something back, but not enough to just run things non-stop. So another application you can use this for is as a UPS, and that means an uninterruptible power supply. To do this, you would have this plugged in the mains around this bit, and you'd have, for example, a computer plugged in here, although it would be quite important that the computer didn't try and draw more than 600 watts at a time. And you can work away at that, and basically it will power in and come straight through, and it will charge up the battery at the same time. But if you suddenly lost the power, you had a power cut or something, then this would take over and power your device in under 10 milliseconds, which is pretty fast takeover. So pretty good if you're in an area where you feel you might have a sudden power cut, or a place where you're worried about sort of spiky power, because these are pretty good at preventing that sort of thing. They're going to regulate their own power out, while the power supply coming in could be a little bit dodgier. So excuse the noise, I'm just on my phone. These guys are just putting it back to storage, both of the batteries, and they were plugged in and storage wasn't taking much, but suddenly it turned off because it reached zero, and so we're charging it back up again. Charge wise, it's pretty quick. If we look at here, it's saying 4 hours to recharge, which is not quite what it says on the app. The app's about 50 minutes. I'll have to just leave this going and see how long it takes. But yeah, that went absolutely to zero. I wasn't expecting it because there really wasn't much going on there, but it ran out. Anyway, charging it back up again. This is supposedly pretty quickly, so we'll see. Well, it's back in the land of the living now, and if you look, it actually says 100% on it, which it didn't last time, it just said 99. I don't know if you can read that. So, what is this for exactly, and who is this for? At this sort of capacity, I don't think you could do much more than the odd camping night away. And I was looking for some stats about how long you can expect this to last, depending on what you're powering. And there is some stuff on the AllPowers website, and it's very much just a rough estimate. But they said AC output runtime, you should do battery capacity times depth of discharge times inverter efficiency divided by rated power of the device. So if you take a 25 watt light, for example, if you want to have a light and you're in your tent or something, a little bit over the top, but that's just an example, you're talking 299 watt hours multiplied by 86% as the depth of discharge, then multiply that by 80% as the inverter efficiency, and then divide it by 25 watts and you get about 8 hours. And if you're running something 50 watts, about 4 hours, and something about 100 watts, about 2 hours, as we kind of found out. We discharged the battery about halfway after running it for about 100 watts. So as long as you know that sort of stuff going in, then you know what you need, and you can think, that's not enough, I need like 1,000 watt hours, and then you just have to get a bigger one. But of course at that point they become bigger. I don't really think it fits much into the sort of van life or off-grid living, because those guys are already going to have very large multiple hundreds of amp hour life PO4 batteries already, multiple solar panels hooked up to try and charge them. But maybe they'd have this in the back of their van just in case things go a bit skew whiff and they get stuck. What it's not particularly good for is going away for a weekend of flying and charging up your batteries using this way. This is fine for being in your tent, hooking up and recharging your phone and having a light on and using your laptop and stuff. But you're actually battery charging. What you want to do is grab yourself a load of massive 6S batteries and charge your smaller batteries off those. But anyway, this has been the AllPowers R600 portable power station. There are many others on the website. This is the smallest. They go very big, although they do get quite expensive when they go very, very big. This is at least pretty inexpensive, although quite small. Not like though. This was kindly supplied by AllPowers, so many thanks to them, and of course there'll be links down below in the description if you want to find out more details. I hope that review's been helpful, and I will catch you next one. Bye for now. Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.